Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and a continuing series, Metal Slug Madness, where we take a look at the entire mainline Metal Slug franchise, and I review each game and talk about the lineage and evolutionary history of the series. Today we're taking a look at Metal Slug 5, and already off the top, hallelujah, we have actual colors. And if you watched the video on Metal Slug 4, you'll know what that complaint's about, because that was the most drab and boring game in the entire franchise. If you haven't watched that video yet, you should probably watch it before you watch this. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down there as well. But Metal Slug 5 in a lot of ways is a return to form, and that's because Mega Corporation was not involved. This was made by the new SNK Playmore along with Noise Factory. Metal Slug 4 being so bad, a collaboration between Mega and Noise Factory, we now know who the weak developer in that grouping was, and it's Mega because they're no longer involved, and now everything is a lot more fun. Unfortunately, we still do have these vehicular segments that move really slow, but at least in this instance, it's interesting. We've got some nice sprite work around the canoe, kind of showing that detail, and already in the first stage, we've encountered two different new types of enemies in the Metal Slug franchise, where Metal Slug 4 basically brought almost nothing new to the table. Now that we move into this ruin area, kind of looks Mayan to me, but I'm not sure. This is what I want a Metal Slug game to be. 5 is not my favorite, I still prefer 1 and 2, X and 3 more, but this feels like a Metal Slug game. It's got a sense of humor, it's got some charm to it, the soundtrack is good. This is a return to form after the travesty that was Metal Slug 4, and I'm so glad that they got the formula back around, and it's going to get even better with Metal Slug 6 and to a certain degree Metal Slug 7. They definitely still reuse some concepts from previous games, like eating too much food is going to make you fat, but at least here with the boss battle, we got something halfway decent to look at. It is just the boss of the first stage, so of course we're not going to expect the biggest and showiest thing, but already this is better than some of the late stage bosses in Metal Slug 4. And I will say that the bullet patterns I kind of really like in this game. You can jump through them, you can jump around them. When the tank rears up on its back, treads almost like feet and crawls towards you, it does have that animal nature to it that those crab tanks in the original games had as well. And I do like that you even get some intercut story in between each individual level. You'll see here that something drops down and the natives come and look at it, first try to attack it, and then one of them is going to put it on because it's a mask. So this does have a lot of story elements to it, and I do appreciate that they were trying to do something different, and it's hitting more than it's missing compared to Metal Slug 4. Now unfortunately we can't get completely away from the drab colors because again we're just dealing with browns and greens, and I just wish they had done something to animate the background because it's doing absolutely nothing. I mean, it's got a texture on it that kind of looks like it's from Yoshi's Island, but so many of the Metal Slug games that came before this, outside of 4, just put so many different details in the background that made perfect sense for the world of Metal Slug 4. And Metal Slug 5, while really a functionally good game that has some really good shining moments, still isn't as big of an effort game as the original games. I don't want to call this a lazy, it's just not as ambitious as the games that came before it, but it's certainly better than 4, so I'm glad the series is going in the right direction. Like I said, it's just one of those things. Everything is subjective. The gameplay is solid. It's got a lot of the shooting action that you love in a Metal Slug game. But now that we're inside, I just wish that things were a little bit more charming and it had a little more personality. More colors, more details in the background, more humor. Those are the hallmarks of what I expect when I play an SNK developed Metal Slug game. And of course, this is SNK Playmore. They're the same company, but not the same company at the same time. And we get these ninjas here. It's all fun. I just want a little bit more going on, but I am so thankful that this is better at least than Metal Slug 4 because that game could just stop existing. Now the music, because Noise Factory did it, is quite good, so after we destroy these turtles here, we've gone from crabs to turtles. That's an evolution in animal form, at least for the series. Go ahead and listen to the soundtrack for a minute. I'll come back and talk about more why Metal Slug 5 is a good but not great game. But enjoy. So the soundtrack is good, but it's not epic. And again, with the boss battle here, we're going to a pseudo kind of shmup format. It is fun, but again, you can tell that the artists that were making these games further on in the series didn't have the same artistic touch as the original sprite artists for Metal Slug 1, 2, 3. And it's just, it doesn't look like it belongs in the game. It's still really fun to look at, it's still detailed, it just doesn't have that Metal Slug look to it. And I know that's a very nitpicky thing, but if I'm going to talk about the evolution of all of these games, I have to mention that. But moving on to Mission 3, we're going to go into this warehouse that's got this really nice blue glow, like something eerie's happening inside of it. And then there's not anything blue or eerie happening in this. It's an incongruity that just doesn't make a ton of sense, but at least we're getting a little more charm going on. We have those cultists, we have these giant robots that look like pseudo Big Daddies from BioShock. We're getting more personality, and I'm starting to enjoy the game more. We've even got rid of the soldiers that we rescue for businessmen now. You can tell that they were really trying with this game, and I appreciate that of them. Even that little detail there of the fan spinning that you just saw, it's just a little detail that should be in a Metal Slug game that was missing in Metal Slug 4, and I'm so glad that we're starting to get that back around. And this game does have a lot of interesting mechs that you can ride in, different slugs, and I like that as well. This is a good game. I may be being a little bit mean to it because I'm coming off the commentary for 4 and I was so disappointed in that, but this game has a lot of what Metal Slug fans love. It's just made by different developers in the original games, and it clearly does show. But I love the businessman's animation as he walks back and forth and flops his arms and gives you something out of a briefcase. It has a good sense and feel to it. And I will say some of the boss battles are quite inventive. We have this maybe cockroach, I don't know exactly what bug it's trying to emulate, but it's got a lot of fun. You have to jump through different bullets, you're going to go down in different layers as it uses a sonic attack on you. They were at least creative with the boss battles, and when that guy pops out of the tank and orders the minions to come in with the rocket launchers, that's nice detail, and that's what I expect out of a Metal Slug game, and we're definitely getting it here. Not to the same degree as the original games, but you have to understand by this point in SNK's history, they really aren't the company that developed the original Metal Slug series. They're SNK Playmore now, and they're using outside developers to come in and work on things as well, so honestly, it's not even the same people making the games in the most part, so we do have to take that into account when we talk about it. And if you watch the In the Hunt episode, you're going to see that inspiration coming back from Metal Slug 5 as we're in this little underwater area, and this is fun. We have the, little Vietnam dude down there, and he's even colored blue because he is underwater and everything else has a blue tint. This is fun, Metal Slug. This has personality. This has charm. I'm excited to play this versus the travesty that was 4, even those squids that blub by. They're just doing things that feel like the people that were making the game actually enjoyed making it, where 4 just felt like a complete cash grab, and I wish we could just strike that from the record. Like the developers didn't know the number 4 existed, and they went straight on to 5, and we have this little underwater tube transition. It doesn't add a ton, but moving on to the final mission, we have another vehicle combat section, but at least this has some interesting mechanics, because we can make the vehicle jump. This isn't like 4, where we just had to slowly ride on a motorcycle and shoot. It's still not the best Metal Slug gameplay I've ever played, but it has a lot of things going for it that we haven't seen in previous games, so at least we can give the developers credit for trying something new, because that's what I want out of every Metal Slug game. I get that they can't recreate the franchise every single outing. It is still a run and gun game, and I love how that car jumps up there and we're able to destroy the helicopter just from mid-air. But at least Metal Slug 5 is trying. It wants to be a great game, it wants to be charming, it wants to be new and unique and different, and it definitely succeeds on some fronts, and it definitely fails on some fronts. I would much rather play Metal Slug 2, X, or 3 versus this game any day of the week. If I have to be honest, it has my favorite out of the entire Metal Slug franchise vehicle you can ride in. This 4-armed kind of diving bell that just crawls along the screen as you just destroy everything with turrets is a ton of fun. If the entire game was like this, I would say it was one of the best Metal Slug games of all time, but it's not, and I would say that this is above 4 by a huge degree, but below the rest of the series as well. You leave me a comment down below. Have you played Metal Slug 5? What do you think? But I will say at least it isn't Metal Slug 4. This game is worth checking out. Just don't start the series with 5 if you've never played any of them before. But I will be back next Wednesday. We'll continue on with the Metal Slug review series. And I'll have videos throughout the week as well. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I didn't crap on Metal Slug 4 too much last week, but we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.